Well, look who we have on the phone here today or on Skype. It's Mary Buvia. Merry Christmas, Mary.
Merry Christmas to you, Alex.
I can see your house is all decked out.
Well, a little bit. None a lot. I've been busy working on my quilts.
Well, you are a quilter, that's for sure. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Mary Bouvier, I know you're all familiar with her quilt, the Loading Dock.
Yes.
The Loading Dock was our centerfold in the Quilt Life in 2011 for December. And honestly, Mary, that did not do your quilt justice.
Oh, thank you. I thought the photography was fantastic. I think Gregory did a super job, and I told him that personally.
And funny, he just called me before I called you. Yes, he did a wonderful job, but man, when you see that quilt in person, it is something else. And that all said, you have a book about the Loading Dock. Hold it up. Can you hold it up?
I do.
Tell us about it.
This book is truly a labor of love. AQS called me and said, "Would you release the patterns on this quilt?" And I thought for 1 second and said, "Absolutely, I would love to do this." I've always wanted to write a book. It was truly a pleasurable experience, and AQS was wonderful to work with. I was just so happy working with them. In fact, I've started a new book just recently, and I hope to submit that to Andy maybe in 2 or 3 months.
Nice. Well, that book just came out. They were debuting it at Fall Market, and it's 2012 right now, and is doing very well, right?
I think it is. I think it is. I'm
Nice.
very pleased. Yes.
Nice. Well, I want to talk a little bit about you as a quilter. When did you start? And really, let me say this first. I saw your quilts all together. Was it up in Michigan with the AQS show?
It was in Grand Rapids.
I mean, one of those quilts is a lifetime deal, and they're just unbelievable. When did you start, and what were your first quilts like?
Okay. I started right after I sold my business. I ran a business for 13 years and sold it in 95 and got very serious the next week about quilting. So I started with 2 traditional quilts for my granddaughters and then went right into art quilting. In fact, I have my sketch right here of the very first quilt I did, and it was accepted in Paducah. I think you can maybe see this. That's the Quilt Angel.
Yes.
It was accepted in Paducah. The workmanship wasn't too good because I was learning all of this. I'm a self-taught quilter, but I learned so much from it and have continued every year and had a quilt in the Paducah show every year, almost every year since.
Did I read on your website that you do your work by machine?
I do. I have a small Bernina. I do all of my work on all of the large quilts with the Bernina. I've had 2 different Berninas, and it's worked just fine.
So you're telling me the Loading Dock was machine appliqued?
Most of that is hand appliqued on the
Okay,
loading.
okay, woohoo!
Yes, most of that. I do a mixture of I do every technique I know on every quilt. And with every quilt I make, I create a new technique. Every single one. I try to create one new technique.
So let me ask you this. Right now I'm thinking about making a quilt, and I'm thinking down the road for the quilting process. Is it acceptable in Mary's book to do part on machine and part by hand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think every technique you can throw in on that quilt creates new dimension and new interest and new techniques. You can create the new techniques with it. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I like your answer. Now, do you travel around and teach and all that good stuff?
I travel about once a month all over the country to teach, yes. And the other parts of the month I teach here locally for 2 different stores.
And what are the 2 stores?
The 2 stores are the Back Door in Greenwood and the French Seam in Carmel, Indiana.
Perfect. Now, you also have another quilt coming up in the magazine as a centerfold. You are just a centerfold type of gal.
I guess I am.
And it's in the August issue, and it is your carousel quilt. Oh, Jan McGee, I hope you don't get mad. I'm spilling the beans.
That's okay. Yes, it's Young at Heart, and that quilt was in competition in 2005, I believe. I think that was the year. It actually won Viewer's Choice in almost every show, and along with other top awards. Um, I've captured the hearts of the audience for some reason with that quilt. I'm not quite sure why, but I love it, and I'm very thrilled to have it to be in the centerfold again. So this is my second time as a centerfold.
So listen, wait till you see the cover of the magazine, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh no!
Now, recently, John told me, because John set up this talk. Thank you, John. Your house had a situation.
It did in September. We had a bad storm at 11 o'clock at night, and lightning hit my cable box and traveled in through my house, fried televisions, phones, my computer, the garage door openers, the light. It fried so many things. I was terrified. This was at 11 at night, and it threw me right out of bed. It scared me so bad. It was so loud. So I was terrified to turn on my sewing machine. That scared me more than anything, and luckily it was fine. I didn't know what I would do. So gradually I'm getting those items replaced and repaired, and it was this is actually the second time I've been hit.
So I would say make sure you have the electrical surge protectors you're supposed to have. Does that help?
I did. I had all of them, and my cable man came out and he said the way it traveled, it would not have mattered.
Wow.
I did have them, yes.
Well, lightning didn't set you back because you're working on a new quilt and you don't really want to share it because, well, for the obvious. Tell us about this new quilt without giving it away.
Okay. I began the design 2 years ago as the day after I finished the loading dock quilt. And so I've been working on it exactly 2 years. It will be finished tomorrow. I'm very thrilled to say. It's another one of my fantasy quilts. I've not grown up yet. I'm trying. But it's another fantasy quilt. Right before my husband died, he and I discussed an idea, and I said, yes, I love it. And he says, you make that quilt. And so I did. And
well, you agreed before the interview to just show us one little section, and it's a portrait of your husband.
This is a likeness of Bob. It's actually a garden gnome sitting on a mushroom. I don't have the crystals for the sparkles in his eyes yet, but it's very, very much. I drew him from one of Bob's pictures. So that's part of it. That's the lower left corner of
that
the quilt.
That is amazing. I can't wait to see the quilt in person in all its glory. I predict great things for you with that.
I hope so. I truly hope so.
So, Mary, if somebody wants to get your book, do you sell direct and autograph and all that good stuff?
I absolutely do. I've sold over 200 direct and personal autographs. They either need to order on my website, or they can call me, or they can email me, whatever they want to do, and I absolutely send it out the next day.
Now, when you teach a class, do people, I suppose they're all varied, but do people come in with their own cartoon, or they do one of your cartoons? How does that work?
When I teach, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
When you teach quilting.
Oh, okay. I teach 4 different types of classes. Mm-hmm. I teach machine quilting 1 and 2. I teach an advanced machine quilting, and I teach an applique class. Now, I'm creating a new class right now that I'll teach in January on this book. We have chosen I've chosen one of the elves right here. We'll be doing this
Oh,
elf right here
oh.
in the applique class. So I chose the smaller one. I mean, he'll be 10 inches tall, but I chose him because he has fewer parts, and we can maybe get him completely accomplished in class. And once they learn that process, they can make absolutely anything and everything. There are no limits. So it's a 5-hour class. I've taught it for probably 5 or 6 years. I'm very excited about it. It's involved and it's detailed, but they know when they're finished, they can make any quilt they want, any object they want, and make it perfect.
Okay, so John's sitting here holding me a question to ask you. What is it, John? What is your least favorite part of quilting?
Oh, oh yes, oh yes. I'll tell you what I love first. I
Okay.
love creating the quilts. It takes me 3 months to draw one of my quilts on paper. 3 months. And that's drawing it over and over and coloring it and coloring it. Anyway, I love that part. My favorite part is the machine quilting. That is my number one favorite part. I love to create with machine quilting. And then when it comes to the binding and the sleeve, that's my unfavorite part.
Oh, that's your favorite?
My unfavorite part.
Oh.
My least favorite part is the binding and the sleeve.
Yeah,
No
I
creativity here.
agree. Hey, I would think there'd be some elves on that quilt that could help you get that business done.
Oh, yes. And that's what I'm doing on my new quilt right now. I'm sewing on this sleeve, and I do have the label ready to go on.
Nice.
This
Nice.
and then a few crystals just in key locations, and I'm finished.
Yeah. Well, Mary, thank you so much for this time with you. I don't want to keep you from your binding and your sleeve, but this is really fun, and I'm hoping I will see that quilt in a show that I might be attending this spring.
I'm sure you will.
Awesome.
I hope you will.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, and congratulations. I want everybody to know that this is your first Skype. You went out and got the equipment that John told you to, and you figured it out, and I give you an A+.
Thank you. And I need that.
Okay. Well, Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you so much. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.